show, the first ever tutorial on production flow. So my name is Jay and I'll be your instructor for today. So today we're going to learn how to make a house track with Splice. This is not sponsored by Splice, but if you're watching Splice, holla at your boy. Alright, so the first thing you do is you want to basically check the tempo of your project. Now, when we're doing house music, we're tending to
When making house music, you want to have
a tempo of around, anywhere between 120 to 130 BPM. This is not a hard rule.
if you want to do something more mellow, you're going to want to take your BPM slower. If you want to go more fast pace, put your BPM up. But just for
Today, we're going to set it at 125. So if you're on Logic, right here is where you set the tempo. Basically, the first thing that we're going to start with is our kick. Now, technically, we can find our kick on Splice, and that's fine. But for today, we're going to actually build our kick from scratch using a drum synth on Logic. So you can create
your own kick, so you don't have to rely on samples.
So we're going to basically create a new software instrument track, and then go to the drop down there and select drum synthesizer, which is right here. Just click on it, and here you have it. Basically, the first drop down will be kicks, which is what we want, and you can kind of go through the kicks and play them. So I have my keyboard, which I can hear. Now, if you don't have a keyboard, you can just type Command K, and you have this thing called musical typing. So you can just use your keyboard as a MIDI keyboard. So I'm just going to use this for now. Now we're creating a house track, so we want a kick that's going to be punchy but also short. And also, just a quick tip, when you're on musical keyboard, the keys Z and X allow you to move up and down the octave. So, as you go down the octaves, you're going to get a lower pitched kick.
So I'm just going through the different kicks, playing with the settings.
So the saturation here gives it a bit more of a kick. no pun intended. Now this decay here, basically the shorter it is, the shorter your sound is going to be. And the longer it is, the longer it almost like becomes an 808, or a bass sound.
Now this is really up to your personal preference, right? But you want to have it just the sweet spot.
And the cool thing about this is you can modify the setting afterwards. It's not set in stone. So I'm just going to record a quick pattern, which is going to be, one kick on every bar, 4 to the 4. Now if you press the letter K on your keyboard, that will enable the metronome, which just makes it easier to be on key.
Just make sure your musical typing is on so you can see it. So like that, when you press the keys, it's actually going to be pressing the kick. Now, it's fine if not everything's on beat, because what you can do is go Command A, and you can quantize your kicks to make it go on grid. But as you see, we want the first kick to be happening at the first bar. So this is the first bar, this will be the second, third, fourth, fifth, and actually you can see this should be here. So you can kind of manually fix it, right? And then here they're kind of off by 1, so there. Now on the 5th we'll loop it, so we can just come here, Command T to split, and we can just Command R to duplicate that.
So we have our basic kick loop, right? Nothing too crazy. So actually here, yeah, that one was offbeat. All right, they're all the same velocity. So here's your velocity. They're all 98 because this was the velocity set on the musical keyboard. Now, we could individually make the velocity different, which I suggest. But for now, we're going to keep it simple and just keep it as is. All right, we have our kick. Just keep it like that. The next thing we want to do is hi-hats. So I'm going to duplicate this software track by hitting Command D for duplicate, and we're just going to name this hats. Now over here, we can come down to this drop down and select hats and symbol. Same thing, open up your musical key typing, or use your keyboard. Now I want hi-hats. I don't necessarily want crash. Right. No, I'm not gonna lie. These hi-hats are not, I mean, they're cool, but not the best. But we can kind of test it. So I'm not really feeling this. I forgot to duplicate the right one. You know what? This is a great time to just find hats that we want. So actually, let's just type, you can go on Splice and type hats, and
you can then use your keyboard arrows to kind of play as the beat is playing.
Two hours later.
This one's kind of nice. So what we can do is, there's many ways you can import the sound, but I've already have it downloaded. You can just drop it right here, and then you can select Quick Sampler Original. So this will take your sound and drop it into the sampler, which again, you can open up your musical typing, and then you can play the sample. So same thing, I'm just going to record the pattern. Just a simple loop. It's hard to multitask, talking and do it at the same time. But again, you can just quantize afterwards, right? So we want it to happen in the middle. So if you remember, the kick is here. We want the hi-hat to be on the offbeat.
we're just going to keep it simple and just have the same loop. All right, now play that. Right, simple happen. I'll give you a quick sauce. If you go Command A to select all your notes, and you go down to Function,
MIDI transform, and there's this thing called random velocity, which lets you assign random velocities between certain values. So here I have it set between 111 and 127, but I'll actually set it between 98, which is what we had, and let's say 108, and then we click select and operate. Now you'll notice that our hi-hats are different colors, and it just helps to kind of give each hat a different value. Of course you can do this manually, but that just helps with automating the process. All right, so now we have our hat, our kick, we need a clap. So I'm going to go back to this hat and try to see if there's a clap that we can get. So it's a snare.
I like this one. It's very, very strong.
Terrible program, but again, it's fine. Just come in and listen. When you program these in, it doesn't have to be exactly on beat. You can like put it slightly before, like not everything has to be so robotic. It's so on beat. So it helps to have one that's kind of off beats and then another one is less beat. Now, while we're doing this, you can kind of set the velocities a little bit different. Again, we just want to create some variety. We don't want everything to sound the same.
And remember, like, these changes are pretty subtle, so sometimes it's more placebo than anything, but placebo helps. Okay. And sometimes what I like to do here is I'll add another clap right at the end there. Kind of create Alright, so pretty simple loop that we got going on. So I'm just going to save the project because it's important to save your project once you have something that you like. Alright. So it's kind of cool, right? Again, I already have the sample downloaded. Now, this is
124 and our project is 125. So what I like to do is turn on flex here. And when you go to the end of your audio file, you can stretch it like this. So now it conforms to the new BPM, right? It's basically 125. So let's see if we can create some kind of
basically I'm kind of splitting the audio, splitting the hats in increments, and Control M helps you mute an audio file. Now you can play around with these two things. Transpose, so this will basically transpose the file -5 semitones below. I also want to play with the volume here, so maybe we can I think -5 is maybe, I don't want to do that for every single one. This is all about playing around, seeing what hits, what doesn't hit. So when you have something you like that fits within a certain loop, you can select it all, Command R to then duplicate it. And again, same thing here. So this just gives it a little bit more energy. Pretty simple. Kick, clap, hi-hats. So now we might want to move on to the bass. Alright. what we can do, we can create a new software instrument track, go down here and select the ES2 synthesizer, although technically if it's not here, then it should be right here. Now we have a bunch of presets here, and under bass, you can really play around with all the different presets here. You know, just, you might want to go down to a deeper octave to get that bass feeling. And again, like, this is all about playing around, having fun. So here you have this thing called MIDI effects, and there's a bunch of things here. Now, the first one, arpeggiator. And when you put this in, it will change the sound that you play, because now it becomes an arp. Here you select the rate. So, you know, this becomes slower, faster. Here you have the range. So basically, the higher you set this, the more your sound will shift octaves. And for now, I think I'm just gonna keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, it sounds fine. So we can record it in. I think I meant for that last note to be not that one. Perfect. Now the last one, you know, I don't want to be too repetitive, so we can switch it. Now when you have a note, you can do Option and arrow up and down, and it will shift your note. Now, by clicking this area here, this will put an EQ filter, or, you know, an EQ on your channel. And here we can play with the frequency of the sound. So
when you select this, you're putting a high end filter. So this will remove all of the high ends of your sound. You know, it's nothing too crazy. Now, one thing I would do here is I would add a side chain, because once you start adding side chain, the bass starts becoming more alive because it's responding to the kick. I'll show you two ways. The first way is using Logic built-in compressor. So what you can do, you know, this is the default settings. The first thing you want to do is go to your kick channel. You want to send the signal to a bus, you know, any bus that's free. In this case, we're sending it to bus 18. And then here we want to basically increase this volume here just to 0, which just means send the full signal to this bus. Now, the bus automatically appears here. The only thing we want to make sure is that instead of this having the stereo out, it has no output. Now, the reason for this is because if we put stereo out, both the kick and the signal going through this bus is going to play at the same time. And that's just going to be too much. That's not our purpose with this. We're sending it to this bus specifically so that our compressor here can receive it as a signal. And so we select it from the bus right here. Now you can play around with these different settings. What I think works well is the Studio FAT. Now here you have a bunch of setting, right? We'll just play it right now as it is. So the threshold, if you play around with this, like if we dial it all the way back, it's starting to distort the sound a lot. As opposed if we put it anywhere between -10, 11. I would say ideally with this sort of sidechaining, we want to bring it up to -6. And then you can bring up your ratio a little bit up like this and turn off the auto gain. You want to make sure your attack is somewhere in this range. Now, sometimes when your attack is too low, you can solo the kick and the bass just so we can hear more clearly. So this is with the sidechain. Not sure if you hear the difference, but they kind of become more in sync, right? The bass is now responding to the kick, and more importantly, the kick has more room to breathe because each time the kick hits, we're ducking the signal of the bass.
Okay. So next thing we could do here is add an OTT to the kick. Now I believe OTT is free. I already have this preset that I've saved. Basically, here are your 3 bands: highs, mids, and lows. Because this is to boost the bass sound of a sound, I would turn down the highs as well with this, and boost the mids and the lows, and basically turn down the downwards compression. Honestly, I don't know exactly the specifics about why this works, but it works. So I'll show you before and after. This is with it on. This is without it. So it just beefs it up a lot. You know, if you put it too much though, you start to hear some artifacts. But when your kick is sounding like not big enough, this is a great addition you can add. Okay, so now if we put everything together, now I might want to add some reverb here, right? Technically, we can use the reverb that is already inside of Logic, which is right here, reverb. So we can play around with this. The importance here, I would say, is the wet signal, because if you put it at 0, there's no reverb, and then the more you put it up, the more the reverb.
Now, another thing, you might have heard you should never put reverb on the actual channel. Honestly, it's true that it might be better to root a bus first and then put the reverb on here. So let's say we do it this way, right? Here, actually Logic automatically kind of understood that this was a bus, so I put the dry signal to 0 and the wet signal to 100. So now there's nothing because we need to increase the volume of our send.
The benefit of using this is that you're not really affecting the main signal. The main signal is still the bass. It's just adding the reverb on top of it. Whereas the method like this, it kind of will maybe dampen the signal. But of course, whenever you're putting a reverb on your actual signal chain, which I'm not sure why it's showing me this. Yeah, you're gonna want to have the wet be a low number because it's very subtle, and it's fine. I think it both works. Right, yeah, sometimes you have to be careful if you're playing around with this, but it's actually the other reverb you're meant to be switching. So again, you just play around with the settings, right? See what works, see what doesn't. Anyways, when you put everything together, you don't hear it as much, but it's always good to solo a sound and really dial down to what's happening, because you can kind of get lost when everything is playing together. Alright, now we have this basic loop. We have a bass, we have a clap, we have a kick. We can start to add in synths or pads. Again, we can stay within the Logic ecosystem. Again, Command D to duplicate, because we don't need to redo everything. Shift return to rename. You can just rename this pad for now. I'm going to remove the EQ because we're going to want those highs, and also disable this ARP. And yeah, let's just go through some presets. I'm going to use my keyboard for this, but you can still use the musical typing. I'm gonna add some reverb because sometimes a lot of these sounds are pretty dry. I like to kind of find a sound that I like first before kind of check what key your bass is in. As we can see here, where our bass is in C, and then you can, if you don't know any music theory, you can kind of see the notes that you typed in. You just look at how many semitones until the next note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 semitones up means that we are in C major. Now, if this would have been here, 3 semitones up, we would have been in C minor. So just know that you're in C major, which is already set here. This doesn't affect anything except just tell you what key your song is, just for you to know. So yeah, this, you can start to play the right notes, right? You don't have to be guessing too much.
Two hours later.
So I'm gonna So you might feeling uninspired. So this at this point we might want to go on Splice, and we can literally just type in house, go to genre. Sorry, not genres. We want to make sure that
It just makes it easier to select all samples that will be in key. As I said, we check that our bass is, right now our bass is kind of the only melodic element, really, and it's in C major. So we can kind of play around with the different samples. Now what I like to do is just play this in the background and play the samples at the same time.
Only you. Cause I've been so
It's kind of cool.
Sometimes this can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. It really depends what is your intention with making music. But when you just go on Splice and you're just searching for samples, you're kind of creating maybe music that will have its own genre. Or like if you want to create something specific, then you want to be specific with what you're looking for. We kept it very very vague, very general, just anything house related within the key. And that's kind of, right now, to me, I'm just having fun creating a house track, like that has that kick, that that loop, that very repetitive
I don't know how to say it, but like it has this repetitive loop going on, and then we can add on to that with some melodic elements. So
Splice is being a little bit of a biatch. It's taking some time, but you know what? We can just play with different stuff. Sometimes you might be like, what? Let me see if there's a better bass, right? It doesn't mean that you've created a bass that you have to stick with this. Kind of cool, right? Like, I like my bass, but I mean, this sounds really nice as well. So you can just download it. So now our first sound is Gucci. Now this is 126, 125, so we can leave it as is, but we can also conform it to the project. You can try both, see which sounds better. Again, turn on the flex, and simply, because the sample is faster in our project, we're going to stretch it out. Okay, this is still downloading, so for now we will keep our bass. Alright, now I showed you how to do sidechaining with the Logic, but what I personally love to do is use the FabFilter Pro C2. Personally, I love the sidechain that this gives you. Make sure this is set to exterior, sidechain, same thing as the other one. I personally love the pumping setting. Alright, so little things that I do to give a sound more character, right? Sidechain, again, not everything needs to be sidechained. This, like, sometimes you need to sidechain everything. No, it's not true, but it does help to glue things together, because now your synth is responding to the kick, and the kick is very dominant, all the time. So it's going to make things more alive, and each element is going to be responding to each other. So it's not just like six different sounds that are kind of not communicating with each other. Now this whatever you want to call it synth is responding to the kick. So yeah, and you can add some reverb again. The la la. This is like you know, I don't even need to say anything. Right, this sound already has a long tail, but we can add some delay to make it even longer. Let's go through the stock plugin because there's a bunch of delays here. Delay. Let's say we do tape delay. You would set your dry to 100 and then set the wet to like something like this. The most important setting to me is feedback. The lower it is, your delay is not going to continue delaying for long. Right? The higher it is, like the longer the delay is going to be delaying. I don't know if that you can even say that. You can hear it, right? So we can also play with the high cut of the delayed sound. So you just modify the settings up to your taste. This is fine. One thing I do want to modify the EQing of the sound. I will put it below the tape delay just because I want the delay to be delaying the sound that I want. It was more dark. One thing also, this sound, this waveform, it has a kind of tail in it. You can play around with making it shorter. And then you can also add this here. Again, this is just you not being afraid to play around with things. Break it up, switch it up. Right. Okay, another thing that is really cool is you can add, like you can pan your sound. Now, there's a plugin called Pancake, which I believe is free. Honestly, I usually just leave it with the default settings, but I'll turn down the mix because when it's at 100, it's like panning aggressively. But if you put it like instead of your sound being dead in the middle, it'll start to pan it a little bit. Okay, another thing is our bass right now is on a stereo track. So one thing we could do here is just add a ozone imager too. This is free as well. Put stereoize. So just play first, and our bass is kind of, it has a very stereo signal. So if we put this down to 100, it becomes mono. And keep it halfway. It just, instead of having the bass be so wide, it starts being more thin, which helps with having a less muddy mix because your bass is not going to clash as much with the instruments that are more within that stereo side. I want to play around with the velocity of my kicks here. And also, I think I want to remove some high end of the kick. So let's see if our bass sound that we downloaded, yeah, we got it. So same thing, drag it in. Now this is 123, which means that we're gonna need to stretch it down. So just make it fit within the 9-bar loop. Immediately, I'm just going to slap on a decompressor. So again, you can just leave the loop as it is, but I like to chop it up, right? Make it different, make it yours. I think it's this clap. You know, I know I said in the beginning that it's okay to have things humanized, but sometimes the problem with that is that if it's too much, it's just going to sound offbeat. It's not going to sound good to the ear. Same here, we can add some reverb to our clap. I really like this animation here, honestly. It's so cool. It's very subtle, right? This is dry. Yeah, this bass is it's really rolled. Compare that to our initial bass. Like, the only problem with this bass is that it stops, right? But we can continue it. What we have to do is just extend the notes. We're gonna have that note be like that to make it different. This actually, I'll keep it up to the very end. Some things, like, the cool thing about having your own bass preset is that you're a little bit more in control. For example, here, you know, we've cut off a lot of the frequencies, so you can press this here, which will open up the automation view. And then on our bass channel, we can go down to the EQ and select high cut frequency. This is exactly this. So by right now it's set to 222 hertz, which is, basically we're saying cut all the frequencies above 222 hertz. But let's say at the very end, we want to make it go up. Right? Yeah, it's too much. So it's just like it makes it add some tension, makes it different. Yeah, you see. So like we can. This is the bass that we initially had. Honestly, I think I like our bass. We can even make it a little bit beefier with the same trick. OTT. Just make sure you have the right settings here to affect the bass. I think maybe I don't know, because it'll stop the flow. Okay, another thing you can do here, you can come here and you can select one of the items, bounce and join, bounce and place. All right, we'll just rename it something. So now we have this chord. Now what you can do here, double click, file, function, reverse. So now we have this chord in reverse. So you see it kind of, it helps to jump into the next section. And I also put a compressor on that just to make sure that so it's one thing to keep things interesting, to keep things flowing. Honestly, this is sounding pretty damn cool. At this point, we can keep going with seeing if there's different loops on Splice. Honestly, I'm really liking this. When you're playing a loop, like you're gonna be listening to what are the elements within that loop that you enjoy. Maybe it's the entire thing, or maybe it's just that one part at the beginning or in the middle. But that helps you kind of, you know what you're gonna want to do with it. My computer is bugging, baby. Okay, so we got the. Really, honestly, I just like this part right here. So we can just put that aside for now. Sometimes, again, another keyboard shortcut, you select your thing, shift control, and you go to the end, you can put a fade out. Because sometimes if you don't do that, there's going to be a clicking sound. So again, honestly, I want to put a reverb. When you don't want to do the same thing, you can click X, and that will open up all the channels that are in the project, and then you can hit Option and make sure like Option is selected all the time. Don't stop pressing Option, and then release first, and then you can let go of Option. That just duplicates this exact reverb onto your new channel. And we can do the same thing for delay. Honestly, I really love the H delay. So there's just something about that sound.
So again, you want to make sure that you are EQing. You don't have to EQ everything, right? It is about, jeez. I just want to make sure my EQing happens before the delay. I just find there's a little bit too much highs. Okay, we can also add compressor. And again, here, we can bring in the other audio and just play around with it and just see.
I might delete this afterwards, but this is part of the process. You download things, sometimes you think it's cool, you think it's nice, and then you delete it afterwards because it's not nice.
Come and get.
Our song right now is pretty dark, dubby. It's like we're in a rave somewhere. So that will affect the sound that we can select. This doesn't.
It's time to get up off here.
Sometimes you can get rid of your key thing. You can get rid of this house, and we can just search for dark vocal, let's say.
Two hours later. So, this is just about adding more energy, right? Technically, eventually, we can break out of this. All you have to do is, let's say we just want to extend to 17 bar loop. Just duplicate your things here. Now, one thing we can do here is the base. We can, instead of bringing it down to this level, we can have it be a little bit higher. And again, one quick trick you can do to like make so the next section hits is you can remove a kick here. Now you do want to be careful with removing a kick because things are sidechained to the kick. You're going to want to be careful about that. So let's just play it through first. So I would remove this clap here, remove this hi-hat, and maybe also remove this, because we want to like create space. Although, what's the problem here? I'm not sure I like this reverse vocal stab, to be honest. What we can do though to replace this, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna cover this right now, just because it's a lot. But you can. I have my own way of creating a white noise. You know, I might create a separate video on this, but there are videos on this already on YouTube.
The essence is you create a white noise that's going to replicate this tension here. Because I like the idea of having something build up just before the next drop. Yeah. Is not liking this. Here, just so you know, if you right click on any track and you head down to track header components, you have this on off thing. If you check it, you'll have these like blue buttons with the power, and this allows you to turn certain tracks off, meaning that your computer, like, it's not going to be running all the things on it. So basically, you know, it frees up some processing power. Which if your computer is struggling, this is helpful. Now, one thing is I don't want this white noise to be happening during the break, so I might just end it somewhere there.
And here we might add some more hi-hats, some more percussion, so that drop hits. And then, you know, we might play around with different vocal stabs, and, you know, you can, if you're satisfied with this loop, I mean, what I would do is I would either keep working on the loop, and then once I have something that I'm satisfied, then I would go into arrangement mode, right? Because I do want to make sure that I'm satisfied with the main loop, whether that's the bass, everything working together, and then I can start arranging things. But sometimes, you know, you do want to branch out of your initial loop just to, not to stay stuck, right? Because if you stay within the 9-bar loop, then it's important to get your creative juices flowing, and extending that loop a little bit helps with that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover today. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully it was educational, right? And if you enjoy this and you want to hear me continue working on this track or arrange it, just let me know in the comments. But otherwise, see you in the next one. Peace.